Если для вас актуален вопрос налогов на Кипре, смотрите это видео. С вами группа компании «Аврора» и я, Оксана Коломиец. В этом видео мы поговорим о налоговых преимуществах и недостатках Кипра и о том, как Кипр может помочь вам достичь ваших финансовых целей. Я бы разделила налоги на три группы. Налоги для физических лиц, налоги для юридических лиц и налоги для профессиональных инвесторов. А сейчас мы послушаем нашего эксперта Антониса Феофануса, который расскажет более подробно о каждой из этих групп налогов.
Cyprus has been a tax paradise, as they are called, tax heaven, for many years. And due to the low taxes and also due to the very non-strict tax practices. We didn't have very good AML, anti-money laundering law. We didn't have know your client laws and processes. And for this reason, Cyprus was considered a tax haven. Now things have changed. The processes are much more strict. The European Union has pressed us to increase the way we do business and the way we control with whom we are doing business. But Cyprus still have very low taxes, and based on the general definition, Cyprus is still a tax haven. For this reason, it is in the list of many countries as a gray zone jurisdiction. Gray zone jurisdiction means that in jurisdiction with very low taxes and with not very transparent processes. It depends always from your status. Okay, but now we speak about a foreigner who is living in Cyprus, who came in Cyprus, who is tax resident of another country, and he just came in Cyprus to open a company. He will face a corporate tax of 12.5%, which is the lowest in Eurozone. With Ireland, we have the lowest tax in Eurozone. Malta is an exclusion with a tax that it might be even 6% for specific type of companies. He will face a dividend tax of 0%, and this is a great advantage of Cyprus because dividends are excluded for tax for foreigners, not for Cypriots. Cypriots should pay 17%, right? And except from these taxes, he will face a very low income tax. The highest scale of income tax in Cyprus is 35%. It starts from 20% for incomes higher than 19,500 euro, and it goes until 35%. But we speak about private tax. For foreigners, there are some exclusions. If someone has been working abroad before coming in Cyprus, it depends from his income. He might have his income to be released from tax, the 50% of his income to be excluded for tax, and in some cases this percent might increase if he has a very high income. The first challenge for a foreigner in Cyprus is to open a bank account. We must clarify this. This is the first step, and it's extremely difficult, this step. Let's say that you open the account. Then you desire to do different types of investments. For example, in real estate, investments in the stock market, shares, investments in bonds. Okay. There are some limitations. Firstly, where you can invest. Secondly, from there, it depends again from your status, but there are different types of taxes. For example, taxes from selling the shares with a profit. If you have a profit, then you have to pay a tax on profits. And it depends again what you want to do exactly and what type of investment. If you want to buy real estate, there is no tax in real estate. There is just the VAT tax. Now is 5% for the first real estate object you will acquire, and then it goes to 19%. But this thing now will change. For 5%, this should be your first residence.
Only first.
For example, you cannot use this real estate to rent to others. It should be your first real estate. The majority of foreigners who come in Cyprus, their main aim is to acquire permanent residency. In Russia, it's called vidno žitelstvo. For that is 5%. so they pay 5%, and then if they want to buy real estate objects or properties for investment, then it's 19%. Again, it's a very good question, but now we are entering in a different discussion with two parameters, two directions. The first direction is who is buying this thing. If they are bought from a company, for example, I have a small investment company, and everyone can establish an investment company in Cyprus. It's very easy, it's not complicated. Everyone can establish an investment company that will do just investments, okay? If they are acquired from a company, the taxes are different. If acquired by a natural entity, I mean an individual. Usually, companies, when they acquire stocks, they are tax exempted. They don't pay any tax. I mean, when they acquire and they are selling afterwards with profit. If they are acquired from an individual investor, and again, I repeat that it's extremely difficult to open a bank account in Cyprus just to buy stocks or bonds or mutual funds. It's difficult. It's difficult. With an account in a Cypriot bank just to come in Cyprus to do this thing, you can do it if you are a European resident. For example, someone from Poland, someone from Germany can do it. If you are a citizen of a third country, Russia, Ukraine, India, China, it's a much more complicated process. First of all, because you will need a utility bill. You should prove that you live in Cyprus. But if we say that you are here, then you will, and you have all these documents, and you have an individual account, yes, you can acquire investment products, but then you must pay the tax on profits. For example, if you acquire a share today, 100 euro, and you sell it 150, on that 50 euro, depending on your status, you will pay a tax. That tax might be 30%. Usually it's 30%.
But for individual?
Now I'm speaking about individuals. Individual would be 30%. If you are a company and you buy these financial assets, it's 0%.
Companies.
Yes, but companies pay corporate tax and dividend tax. Correct? If you are a company, you'll see if you have profit from selling these assets, you should declare this profit on the financial statements, and you will pay tax. 12.5% and 70% if you are non-domiciled in Cyprus.
Like company or like person?
Like, very good question. The status of a company is defined by the status of the shareholders. If the shareholder is non-domiciled, the company is non-domiciled. IP Box is the reason why we consider Cyprus a technology hub. Is the reason why we say that Limassol is called Limassol Grad and is part of the Russian-speaking world. Is the reason why we have so many technology companies here in Cyprus. Is the reason why we have all these technology companies here in Cyprus. This is a special tax regime for companies that produce intellectual property. Intellectual property can be a software program, it can be also a song, it can be also a painting. The reason why Cyprus became the Silicon Valley of Eastern Mediterranean is the IP Box. And what is the IP Box? It's the tax regime that says that for these companies, for technology companies, or for each company that produces intellectual property, the corporate tax will not be 12.5%. It says in the simplest and easiest form that 80% of the turnover of these companies that is related with the production and design of software is not taxed. It doesn't pay tax. So for example, if a company makes 100 million per year from creating software programs, applications for the mobile phones, from these 100 million, the 80 million will just put out from the financial statements, and it will just pay taxes on the 20 million. And it's huge. And this effectively means that the tax rate reduces to 1.5%. This is the reason why we have all these companies from Russia, from Ukraine, from Belarus. 2.5, I said 1.5, 2.5%. It's the 80%, of course, 2.5. It becomes 1.5 with tax planning, and if we also use some other tools like the nominal interest deduction. But this 2.5 is clear with the 80%, correct. On dividends, you pay 0%. If you are a foreigner, non-domiciled in Cyprus, at the end of the story, you will pay 2.5% on your company. And then when you have the dividends, and then dividends in Cyprus are issued every 2 years, on that you will pay 0%. Non-domicile is foreigners that have been working abroad for a period of time, and they start working in Cyprus for a specific period of time. We cannot say the exact amount of time because the law is changing at the time, but it was 17 years before. In Cyprus, the companies obviously pay the corporate tax, the 12.5%. If it's a technology company, as we explained, it reduces to 2.5%. Then dividend tax, that is 17% if you are domiciled in Cyprus. If you are non-domiciled in Cyprus, it's 0%. Also, the company that has employees in Cyprus, it pays for social insurances 8.3% on the salary of the employees, which is pretty high. And it's not just the only type of taxes that is paying on the employees, because now 2 years ago in Cyprus, it was introduced the national health system. In Cyprus, after pressure from European Union, we had to introduce a national health system, so all employees will have access to free healthcare in Cyprus. And now the companies are paying also 2.65% on their employees' salary to have access on the national health system. Now, the employee from his side, he will pay his income tax independent of how high is his salary. It will be from 20% until 35%. And also he should pay again on the social insurances 8.3%, which is pretty high in comparison with other countries. And also again, he should pay for the national health system 2.6%. Firstly, in Cyprus, what we have seen is that mainly we have two types of companies. The first type of company is the investment company, people who invest in real estate and then just open a company to have the most optimized tax-wise way to invest in Cyprus or in Europe even. And the second is technology companies. The reason why the first come in Cyprus, the investment company, is the 0% on tax dividends and the low corporate tax. The reason for the technology companies is the IP box regime and the national interest deduction. The national interest deduction is a way that facilitates investors, owners of companies from any country outside from Cyprus to bring money in Cyprus, capitals, invest in their companies and receive tax exceptions. Why? Because these capitals that they are bringing in Cyprus, they are considered as operation expenses and they become part of the expenses in their financial statements, and they, in this way, they provide a tax shield, a tax protection from the tax. This is the reason why I have so many companies opening in Cyprus now. If you want to receive a permanent residency, you will do it as an individual, not as a legal entity. So, sometimes you can do it also on the company, to be honest. If you do it on the company, is an asset of the company and it has depreciation. So the depreciation is an expense. So it will be again deducted from the financial statements. The answer is yes. You can use your property that you acquire in the financial statements for depreciation and then it's tax accepted.
Кипр – это не просто место для отдыха, это место, где вы можете начать строить свое будущее с оптимальными налогами и максимальными возможностями. Начните делать это вместе со специалистами компании группы «Аврора». Если вам интересно узнать больше про Кипр, подписывайтесь на наш канал, чтобы не пропустить новые видео, и не забывайте ставить лайк.